Hey, and what's up, everybody? Welcome in GC Live Monday episode of the show. Very special episode as we are live from Primal Gourmet here in West Columbia. A Primal Gourmet, Chris, a longtime sponsor, I guess you could say, on GamecockCentral.com. Now we're bringing you the word of what Primal Gourmet is all about here on GC Live as well. And the short version, we're going to get the long version of it a little bit later on from Greg. But the short version of what Primal Gourmet is, it is chef-prepared meal prep meals that basically, if you want to, you can come in the cafe if you want and get one meal, but if you're like me, you're trying to eat more healthy, you maybe have special dietary needs, you need more protein, whatever it may be, but you still want it to be good and you don't want to use your entire Sunday to meal prep yourself. Primal Gourmet is your spot. They have to pick up, twice a week, I believe Jen said. And you can actually, you'll see people rolling in right behind us. They have a huge array of meals available right here in the cafe. Again, we're in West Columbia. If you want to come say what's up, we're at 725 Meeting Street, West Columbia, South Carolina, 29169. Very easy to find us on the main highway here. Come on by, say what's up, and come talk some ball with us. That's what we're going to be doing right now, is talking some Gamecock football. And Chris, and we're going to tell them about Clint Hammond here in a second. But Chris, first and foremost, the game on Saturday exemplifies the idea of a ugly loss is always better than a pretty win, because that, right. You know, Shane Beamer, within his first sentence talking about this game on the teleconference and the press conference, is like, we will always, 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 always celebrate wins. Yeah. But good grief, there's a lot to clean up. So you have sort of this little dichotomy right here of it was not pretty. We'll be completely honest. Nobody is sugarcoating saying it was pretty. But wins always beat the alternative. And there's a lot. I watched a pretty good bit of ball on Saturday, man. There were a lot of games that were close involving Power 5 type programs versus either lower tier programs or FCS. I mean, look at Florida State, man. I mean, there's a lot of people that would love to be sitting at 2-0 right now, like South Carolina is, even if it wasn't pretty.
Was not pretty, but a win is a win. And you know, Shane Beamer's right. It is always cause to celebrate when you're able to go and win on the road. Was it frustrating to some degree, the mistakes that we saw again in week 2? The lack of offensive output, sure. There are also things to celebrate. Number one, first and foremost, being 2-0, however you get there, always cause to celebrate. Better than the alternative of being 1-1 heading into Georgia, Kentucky, your SEC slate. We know that this team is going to have to scratch and claw and fight to get to where it's maximizing its potential. What did they have to do in order to do that? Win the first 2 weeks, and that's what they've done. So, tons to clean up. Tons to be frustrated about, but the ultimate goal is to win football games, and that's exactly what they've done, Wes. So, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dissect within the game on Saturday, and I'm sure we'll do that. Man, an exciting game. Here's a stat that I rolled out earlier, insider report this morning. Had to go back and do some research. The last time that South Carolina came back from 14 points down and won a game, the football game, the Outback Bowl against Michigan, January 1st, 2018. That was the last time it happened. Before that, Wes, you had to go back to 2014 on the road against Vanderbilt. Commodores went up 14-0. Carolina went on and won that one pretty comfortably. So, again, another cause to celebrate. A come-from-behind victory has not happened a lot. So no matter the competition, the circumstances, they got it done.
That game feels like it was 2 decades ago. That Outback win you're talking about.
I think it was.
It seems. And by the way, we're reversed, and Jamie says I reversed the saying. So obviously I don't know what I said. What I meant was an ugly win is always better than a pretty loss. I don't know if I said it right or wrong, but y'all know what I meant. And some people were sitting here talking about, oh, they're late. You know, we're always a couple minutes late, y'all. Like that's the beauty of a podcast. We can start really whenever we want. So, and by the way, tomorrow, as y'all know, tomorrow will probably be maybe 2:30-ish because Shane Beamer, presser day, always on Tuesday. That's at 1:15 to about 1:45, but we have to take time to get home, get set up, and all that good stuff. So, again, this show is, as always, presented by, we are at Primal Gourmet, but as always, we're presented by our good friend, Clint Hammond of the Mortgage Network, ClintHammond.com, 803-771-6933. Clint, the presenting sponsor of this show, can be found at chammond@mortgagenetwork.com or 803-422-6797. If you want to shoot Clint a text and ask him what he thought about the game, go ahead and do that. NMLS number 71597. Again, appreciate Clint, our presenting sponsor, each and every day. You see it's actually a lot going on behind us here, folks grabbing lunch at Primal Gourmet. Again, you have sort of this little, it's interesting. You can just come by and get lunch if you want, or you can go with the meal packs, and really you have a lot of different options every single week. And we were able to take a tour and see that they're literally, you got people in there preparing the meals as we speak. Getting into the game, and I see a lot of comments. By the way, if y'all were throwing questions in the chat before we got started, maybe help us out. Just throw them back in there. We'll try to get to them. But Chris, where do you
don't even know?
Where do you start in this game? I'm gonna like just throw it at you and say what is your, other than what we've already said, what is your second thought on this game?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, if you were asking me my first one, it would have been what I said. The come from behind nature of this win, despite playing. I'm sure there's a universe in which South Carolina could have played worse on offense in the first half.
But no one wants to see that.
You don't want to see it. Not much worse, right? So to go and win, despite those circumstances, was certainly a positive. There are so many storylines to dig into. I'll go here, though. Defensively, South Carolina starts off as poor as possible. You give up a touchdown on the very first play of the game. I did have the feeling of, is this going to be one of those games? You know, it's almost like the kiss of death, Wes, when a team returns the opening kickoff for a touchdown. The other team always seems to win. I thought, well, maybe that'll happen here. We'll see. They do that. Other than that, the only other touchdown by East Carolina late in the game, you know, they had prime field position at that point. They were able to go and score. East Carolina didn't do a whole heck of a lot after that. And that was despite, you know, some skill guys where you were worried about that matchup a little bit. We knew the quarterback could run, he could deliver the football. Defensive line needed to be the difference in this game, and I think they were. You know, throughout the game and specifically down the stretch, the front six, I think you could say, that the four linemen and then the two true linebackers, Brad Johnson and Sherrod Green, Devontae Staley, when he came in, was impactful. Those guys needed to, as you say, eat. And they did, I thought.
We said, and not that this was hard to really spot after watching the ECU's first game, watching South Carolina, and what we just knew about South Carolina coming in. It was not hard to make that call that the D-line needs to have a good day. But on a day that some things didn't play out the way we necessarily thought they would, the defensive line, and I think the difference right now, Chris, it's not just J.J. Enikbare. It is a team effort up front. Aaron Sterling having a great day. Jordan Strong continues to look the part. I feel like all the guys on the interior play pretty well. And even, I think this is a front four right now where even sometimes it's not showing up in the stat sheet. It's like, I looked at the stats. Taka Hemingway doesn't really stand out as far as the numbers, but then there's a play where Taka's in the backfield, forcing, chasing the quarterback. And really, I thought they were never really comfortable as far as their passing game goes. because South Carolina was consistently in the backfield pretty much all game and held their running game down as well. That was something, when you put it in that category we always talk about where this is sort of what you think, but you don't know until the games come along. We've talked up this D-line a ton this offseason. And I think we were pretty sure they were going to be good as far as pass rushing goes. But there was that little thing in the back of my mind that kept remembering how much South Carolina struggled against the run last year. Well, again, not that ECU, it's going to be another story as we move forward this week into this game.
Sure.
But definitely a step up in competition from last week. And we talked about them having two really good running backs. And this being a game where, if ECU had been able to run the football with any type of consistency in this game, South Carolina loses this game because ECU had the lead early on. And I think if they were able to just sort of keep pounding away, the South Carolina offense would have never gotten all the opportunities they did with the football. So a pick six from the defense. If you had Damani Staley pick six on your bingo card, automatic winner. But that changed. Let's give credit. That completely changed the entire layout of this game. And then the defense kept giving the offense chances. The offense in the first half, it was an absolute struggle, but the defense kept giving them chances. They didn't let that big play at the beginning sort of carry over, I guess is the best way to say it. And, man, I'll let you talk on him, but Clayton White so far, 2 for 2 as far as having his guys ready, having the guys just hustling to the football, and they look like they're having a good time as well.
They are. You can tell they're having fun. He's cut them loose. One of the things that we knew and we were told about Clayton White once he got this job, and you kind of dive into, okay, what does his defense look like? What's the identity going to be? The very first thing that I heard was he'll get creative on third down, and we've seen that. Now, it helps to have the personnel that South Carolina has when you have two deep legitimately on your defensive line and your front four where you can go and do that. But we saw on third down they got creative. The play that Damani Staley got the pick six on. Well, I talked to Sherrod Golightly about it this morning, former Gamecock defender. We'll have a full piece on him tonight, tomorrow, breaking down some of those. But as a preview, Wes, we had all looked at that play as a screen to the running back. And maybe it was, but Sherrod's theory was that was a hot release for the quarterback. So he was trying to get rid of the ball because if you remember, South Carolina moved around a lot pre-snap. They stemmed, which means you give them, you move. There was some confusion. The O-line was confused. Aaron Sterling came completely free. And that caused a quick throw by the quarterback, went off the chest, Damani's right place, right time, game-changing play. So it's plays like that. I think you look at the individual progression of guys like Darius Rush, who had an interception. Great technique on that interception. You look at Cam Smith's progression in terms of his on-field play. Brad Johnson has been a revelation at will linebacker. Those guys look fun. They look like they're just playing fast and loose. Are they still making some mistakes? Sure. And those will be exposed by a Georgia or some of the better competition. But they're playing well with largely the same personnel that they had last season.
Yeah, Damani Staley sticks around, super senior, has an opportunity when the ball comes his way, and he knew what to do. He made the play. He was actually in on a couple of other tackles that I noticed. I know in your snap count, he didn't play a ton.
12 snaps. Yeah.
But talk about being efficient with your 12 snaps. I mean, Good grief. Damani with a day, man. Good for him. Stuck around. Has had some tough moments at times, I think, on the field, and obviously that was a day he'll probably never forget. For him and a lot of guys, man. I think my mind on Sunday as I was replaying the game kept going back to Josh Vann as well. Do you remember what we talked about on Thursday or Friday? We were wondering aloud: is Josh going to be able to sort of? Will he be able to have one of those games where he sort of takes it to another level now that he had a positive start to the season? And what were going to be proper expectations for Josh? Is it going to be like he catches 30 balls this year and it's just a solid option? Or could he truly be in the process of becoming South Carolina's go-to wide receiver before our very eyes. And it's kind of funny with these things, man. It's like it almost is like it just happens, and then you look back and it's you're almost like, well, we always knew that was going to happen. Or once it happens, it's like sort of easy to see, but until you actually see it happen, you just never know which direction a guy is going to go. And for Josh, I thought that was another, forget the fumble at the goal line. That was, great play by that defender. And but Josh has been getting open. He's been catching the football. He had an ever so slight move of the football.
Yeah.
Which everybody in the chat's talking about the officiating. By the rule, I guess that's an incomplete pass. But for 100 years of playing football, like by your eyes, like he caught the football.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right.
He caught the football. But we're talking about Josh from like what this means for a big picture standpoint. I thought it was an outstanding day for Josh Vann because he gave South Carolina a receiver threat that was consistently getting open. So good for Josh Vann. I know it was a huge day in his mind as well. But the biggest thing for me, dude, is that's something he can build off of moving forward. Josh Vann may be rounding into South Carolina's top receiver as we speak.
Well, and you said before the season he needed something good to happen early, and we've seen that happen the first couple of weeks. Some flashes against Eastern Illinois, and now this game. Now he had, the fumble right at the goal line, and then the second one that was wiped off the board. But he made some big plays. Remember his catch down the sideline. He made some huge plays in this game, and he's taken his game to that level where it's not just flashes anymore, right? He's able to make some consistent plays. You can tell just by his demeanor on the field that he has gained so much confidence. I remember preseason before, as they were opening camp, one of his quotes to the media was, it's nice to be counted on again. And we saw in this game that the staff basically called his number and said, we're going to Josh, and he was able to deliver. So good for him.
Yeah, he did. And, I think Josh looks to me, what you saw Saturday is what I thought Josh Vann was going to be when South Carolina signed him.
Yeah.
Going back to what we saw at camp, watching his film in high school as well, that's the guy we were pretty sure South Carolina was getting. And it's taken a little bit of time for it all to click. Yeah. And even with all the positivity we heard about him in camp this year, you sort of you wanted to make sure. You wanted to see it in person, right? You want to see it against a real opponent. But credit Josh Vann for buying into Beamer's philosophy, the coaching change, and, Justin Stepp has done a phenomenal job with him. And, I think just you gotta give a little extra kudos to the guys that stick around, go through some tough times, don't just leave, and then you see it paying off. So, good for Josh Vann, and I think we're seeing the beginning of something that could be a really big year for Josh Vann. If I had told you, changing gears, if I had told you that South Carolina would, at the end of the day, take over with its running backs on the final drive of the game for a game-winning score, and I gave you 4 guesses, at what point would you have guessed Juju McDowell as being the guy?
Fourth.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. But it's kind of interesting. It's almost funny that you never quite know which guy on a given day is going to sort of find a little something that works. And Juju has the big kickoff return.
Yeah.
And I think we were both sort of, even, as much as you want to see D'Carrion get his chance returning kicks, I think we all were kind of like, Juju McDowell could make an impact at kickoff return. He gets his chance, has a huge kickoff return, and then, dude, this kid, we knew he was explosive. He's very, very patient on those outside runs at letting his blocks develop and then knowing when to use his explosiveness to get north and south. And The staff, I think probably just were like, it's working. Don't change it now. Don't change it now.
Right. Well, he was a revelation in the game, and I think I'll tell you, how every now and then, and it doesn't always turn out to be right, but you're watching a game, watching it play out, and I specifically remember having a thought when East Carolina was about to kick off, saying they need a spark here. I wonder if they give Juju a chance and just roll and see what happens. And sure enough, to see the ball kick. Well, there's Juju McDowell. Let's see what happens. Well blocked play. He gets the seam or gets the edge and is able to, put them in prime position to then go drive down. Game tying field goal. Kai Kroger, amazing job holding that one, getting the laces out. No interruption at all in Parker White's stride. Was able to hit that one cleanly. So that was a huge sequence. And then, going to him on the last drive, it was really something else. They hit him with that outside, that kind of stretch zone play. And you're right, great patience. I remember the one around the right side that kind of finished things off and got him in position. Zeb Nolan, as soon as he saw it, kind of put his hand up because he knew it was a good play. Nick Hughes did a great job blocking on the edge on that one. So, whether it was pass protection, where he had some nice, able to hold up a linebacker, kick return, running back, led the running back room in snaps. Hard to have seen that coming, but this is a kid that, everybody knew had ability, and an example of one of those guys that we heard buzz about in the preseason that ended up, coming to fruit on Saturday.
Yeah, and really the only true freshman right now that is making, obviously this is a very small class as far as true freshmen go, but Juju is the true freshman right now, making a big impact. Obviously there's transfers and stuff like that are making plays, but Juju, the guy, I did my little red shirt report today, and it's interesting. He's the one, as far as the freshman class, that is making an impact so far. And we all heard his name. We heard his teammates mention him all preseason. But even then, we've seen that happen in the past, where a freshman comes in and we hear all about him. It's something completely different to go into the game and make that same impact. So good for him. By the way, we have to. It's almost kind of expected. We still have to throw a lot of love to Parker White, man. Like Parker has. Parker, I remember early on, Parker gets the job. Wasn't really even expected that he was going to win the kickoff job at the very beginning of his career. If you want to go back 10, 15 years ago when he arrived at South Carolina, but he has carved out a really nice career at South Carolina, and is just so comfortable, I think, now. Did you see the tweet from Steve Fink?
Which one?
So Steve Fink tweeted today. He's like, never had a doubt. He's like, I knew Parker was ready and relaxed when for the big kick. When I walked through by the bench with about 3 minutes to go, and Parker was like, "Hey, what's that Ohio State Oregon score?" so Parker,
didn't see that.
Yeah, Parker at this point, I feel like he's that veteran guy that has been around the league. He's like the veteran kicker that's been in the NFL for 12 or 13 years. By then it's just like, I'm good, guys. Just whatever. Like if most college kickers are in a bad place having to make that kick, I feel like. And with him, it's just he has a process that works for him, and it's just about executing. And again, you got to give credit to it. The snap and the hold, I think, were really good on the final kick. It was the one before that, as you said, Kai Kroger, who has received praise, by the way, from Pete Limbo coming in for being an excellent holder. That stuff gets lost a lot of times, but we do not want it to get lost here because that's huge. Who knows what happens if South Carolina doesn't tie it up right there?
Yeah, not just, you always think about, securing the bad snap, not dropping it. But again, I think the key to it is he corralled the high snap, got it down, and got it spun where there was absolutely no interruption in Parker White's process or stride. I mean, it was just as if it was a perfect snap. in terms of what Parker had to do. So that's all you can ask for. People don't notice that unless it goes bad, but that was just as big of a play in the game as DeCarrion Joyner snagging that touchdown, to tie the game and the throw by Zeb Nolan.
How about Joyner bouncing back too, man? I mean,
that was good to see for him.
He was pressing, I think, in week 1 and has had a great offseason. We all know that, but didn't have a great game 1. Call it like it is, but then bounced back, made some plays. I still say he was down on that fumble, and I don't know. You don't think so?
Yeah, I was going with the other call that could have been made. The targeting.
Oh, okay, yeah. So on the fumble, he was down in my opinion, and I don't understand how you overcall. And you stick with that call, but you overcall the Josh Fan on 2 ticky-tack type plays. But the officiating, I know people – I don't want to get into the officiating. Let's just agree it was just bad. It was bad. It was all bad. But that is par for the – there's a bad officiating everywhere in every sport right now. But your thoughts on DeCarrion having a good bounce-back day?
Yeah, good to see. And I thought that, for him to snag that touchdown on a ball, he had to go up and grab it. That was good to see. He looked more comfortable in this game. The quarterback snaps that he took, still haven't gotten anything going there. I think we should get into that later in the show, Wes, at some point. Kind of, hey, what's going on with offense? What's going on with the blocking up front? What's going on there, specifically with the run game? But he does look more comfortable, and hopefully he can, keep building on that performance.
Yeah, they've. I'm going to go ahead and preview this. They got to find a way to fix the running game. They got to find a way to fix what's going on with the offensive line, because, like we talked about earlier, you think you know what it's going to be for a team. It doesn't always play out the way we think. We thought the D-line was going to be what they are right now. Check mark. They have been, right? Through 2 games.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could ask much more.
Right.
Offensive line has not been in any way what we thought. And that includes what we were hearing, like what we were just hearing behind the scenes. And, Satterfield said, hey, this offensive line is going to need to carry this offense. So it has not been what we thought at all. So that's something we've got to get into a little bit more as the show goes on. While I get this set up for Greg here at Primal, you want to tell everybody about Dead Soxy?
Yeah, let's tell everybody about Dead Soxy here. So, of course, we're partnered once again in the 2021 season with Dead Soxy. That's DeadSoxy.com. Go there, check out the sweater line of college socks. If you're on YouTube or one of our streams, you see them up there in the top left corner. College line, dress socks, athletic socks, no shows, soft feel, patented, no slip technology. Go to deadsoxy.com, DeadSoxy.com. 25% off your entire order with promo code COTTON. All right. There you go, Wes.
All right, here we go. All right, let's get set up here. By the way, we're live at Primal Gourmet, West Columbia. We're joined now by Greg Martin. Greg, the owner here at Primal Gourmet, and also a big Gamecock fan too. So yeah. So we're gonna get you to talk about what you have going on here, but then you're gonna be our fan perspective of the week here as well. So
don't send out my email.
Okay. I will say this: when we get your thoughts on the game, we do try to keep it a little bit clean. So as far as your thoughts on how it played out,
a win is a win. We're okay. We're okay this week.
Yeah, there you go. So, but first of all, we were telling them a little bit about Primal Gourmet earlier. You can tell them better than anybody. I said, look, these are chef-created meal prep meals. If you're like us, you're trying to eat better, but you still want it to taste good. That's my summary. How did I do?
Pretty good. I mean, that's the point, right? So everybody's like, oh, I need to eat healthier. I don't have time to cook. I don't know how to cook. Cooking's scary. What do you do to eat right? Well, everybody knows they're not supposed to eat fast food every day. So how do we get healthy food fast? And that's kind of where the idea came up with. But also, there's only so many times you can eat grilled chicken breast.
Yeah.
So like, what do? Like, you got to put a new flavor on it. You got to do another spin on it. So that's where we come in, because there's, including myself, 4 former executive chefs of other restaurants that work here. So there's a lot of talent that's developing flavors that you're going to appreciate. So everything from barbecue to Mexican to Italian, Mediterranean to African, you name it, we'll do it all. But it's all about whole, fresh food and making it taste good so you want to come. And who knows what we're going to do next. Every week's new, a whole new menu every week. And, of course, we keep the favorites, but just try to keep things interesting so you can come back every week and you got a new option to try. So it's only so many times you go to Chipotle.
Yeah.
So tell us about, you have several different ways that people can get your food. You can come in here at your West Columbia location, you can get food right off the line. You can get food back here at the market to take home with you, prepared stuff. You also have the delivery program, right? Tell us a little bit about the different options.
So there's really 3 ways that we offer what we do. So obviously there's the market, come in and between the line, kind of Chipotle style, the market, which is kind of like a miniature, like local artisan market, fresh produce, dry goods, that things we make. But also we do you can go on our website and pre-order packs of meals that are different each week, and those can be delivered to your home or to your gym. We deliver to most of the gyms around town, and that's at no charge to have it dropped off at your gym. And then for a small fee, just like anybody else, you can have it delivered to your home. And then the third thing is we do a homebound program, which started for seniors, but it's really open for anybody. So new mothers, somebody maybe still going through rehab, coming out of the hospital, anybody that might benefit from having just prepared food at home that's healthy. We offer that as well. So it's just kind of a different style than our normal meal packs, a little more home cooking, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So if you're terrified at some of the unusual looking things that you might see on the meal packs,
Yeah.
We're gonna have your lasagna and your chicken tenders and things like that on the other menu. So
I understand y'all have a lot of former Gamecocks from time to time. Just drop by. I imagine if you're a current athlete or a former athlete, this is a great way to kind of get your fill, but mix it up a little bit as well.
It's funny. I might have told you the story before, or maybe not. My first official customer was Marcus Lattimore, and he showed up the day before I opened, and the door was open, and I turned around and I just stared at Marcus Lattimore, 5 years ago, and I'm like, can I help you? But ever since then, I'm honestly, I know George Rogers, Langston Moore's a good regular, Preston Thorne, we see him all the time. We see Andy Boyd all the time because his wife is my general manager, but we got just a number of, the big boys like Cody Gibson that used to play on the line. He comes in pretty regular. He's, 6'6". He's got a bit of an appetite, so we're happy to have him. But, we've seen tons, and we love that. For me, I love that because, this is my home team, this is my team, and I love seeing those guys come in.
So, Wes, we have our promo code live. Do we have our banner right now? Don't think we have our banner, but it's GCOC20. So if you go to the Primal Gourmet website, primalgourmetsc.com, promo code GCOC20, that'll get you a discount off of your first order with Primal Gourmet, meal pack, delivery, all that good stuff. All right, so Greg, you mentioned the win's a win. Tell us about the game Saturday. Give us your fan perspective on what you saw.
I'm going to be honest. I had a bad feeling, and I did not turn on the TV until halftime. And based on what I saw on Facebook, I was like, yeah, that was the right choice.
Great decision.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. So at halftime, I was like, all right, well, let's see how they do. And, I think obviously the line kind of did a little better job, I think, in the second half. I think the defense played really well throughout most of the game, and obviously there's a lot of potential there. I think they just couldn't get their ducks in a row until halftime. But Zeb seemed to throw the ball well in the second half compared to the first half. But I think there's a lot of potential there. Obviously that's got to be one of the better running back rooms in the SEC almost. That's a lot of depth. I don't think we've ever had 4 realistic good running backs at a time ever, maybe.
Yeah.
You're up. So we've talked a lot on the show about how last year among the fan base, the hope was gone. Forget about this particular game. How as a Gamecock fan has your sort of excitement been this offseason, maybe compared to the last couple of years and what Beamer's trying to do at South Carolina?
I think just exuding positivity is something that I've noticed. Like, everything's staying positive, keeping everything in front of you, and I think that's just a big switch from the Muschamp era, where it was like everybody's got to go to work with their lunch pail, and everything, and there's no fun being had. And I think there's a lot to take away from the fact that I think he's trying to make things a little more fun for the kids. And that's who they are after all. So I think, and maybe that's helping a little bit, helping those guys gel, where I think something that we saw the last 2 years at Muschamp was just that we were never seemed to be on the same page when it mattered, and I think that might be something that's going to change with Beamer and his attitude and his personality becoming part of the team. But I was excited. I mean, it's been a long time, it feels like, since we had something to be excited about. I've been going to the home games for 20 years, and I think we've all experienced the lows and the highs and everything, and the 0-11 and everything. So I think we've hit a point where we're not still expecting the Steve Spurrier 2010 to 2013 execution yet. I think everybody's got some more realistic standards than we did maybe 6 years ago for our team. But the sky's the limit. I mean, these kids look great out there, so I'm amped for the future, and I'm ready to go see these teams play.
Kentucky game just announced today as a 7 p.m. kickoff. Will you be there? You going to Kentucky?
Oh yeah, I'll be there. If you see a Primal Gourmet flag, I fly one at every game, just in case anybody wanted to stop by and have chicken salad.
Okay. So I was before we let you run, I know you got a lot to do. We're gonna keep breaking down the game here, but anybody who is going to immediately after the show go to primalgourmetsc.com and order their first meal kit. Any recommendations? I know you change the menu a lot, but any recommendations? What's your first time? Yeah, what's your favorite? What's your good first time break-in?
I'll tell you, probably the number one meal combination. I mean, we don't keep track of it, but I think most of our kids can tell you. Jerk chicken thighs with mac and cheese and collard greens is definitely the favorite. I know mac and cheese doesn't sound healthy, but hey, I don't tell people what to order, so we just provide quality food that tastes great. But I think my personal favorite is I make a little bowl with jasmine rice, those jerk thighs, put a little barbecue sauce on it, marinated cubes and tomatoes, slaw, and kale salad, and just have a little fire and ice, hot and cold lunch. And feel free to start buying that and make my kids work hard. They're here waiting for you.
There you go. And I had the jerk chicken. You had it last time too. Incredible. That was great. Great recommendation.
We go through about 1,000 pounds of chicken thighs a week just for that.
It's great stuff. So again, primalgourmetsc.com. Promo code is GCOCK20. Get a discount off of your very first order. Greg, appreciate you having us out here, man.
Really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, enjoyed talking to you.
While we were talking, there's a former Gamecock behind us, Mr. Preston Thorne, saying what's up to everybody. Right on cue. Right on cue. He comes in. Chris, let's switch gears. We talked about it briefly a second ago. Offensive line, man. It just has not been what we expected. So I think not that you just panic if you're South Carolina, because you don't want to panic at this point. But is it already at the point where you got to start thinking about tweaks, whether that is getting somebody else in at a position, whether it is tweaking the scheme, whether it is not necessarily, when I say tweak the scheme, I don't mean you just throw everything out. Diversifying the scheme a little bit, adding new wrinkles. Obviously, I say 8 quarters, we've seen enough to know that something is just not quite where we expected it to be. Even, I don't know if that's fair or not, but I think it's true.
Yeah, because I think what's happening, and it's very fair, you look at 8 quarters of Eastern Illinois and East Carolina. Now, East Carolina, a lot quicker up front than EIU, but not an SEC defensive line, not Georgia, not Kentucky, not a lot of these teams. And so when you see that and you see some of the issues, and to me, Wes, it boils down to a few different things. It's never as easy as the O-line stinks. You don't. It's not that simple. So one thing is, South Carolina does not have a passing attack that makes it to where defenses have to be very aware of it. Right now, defenses can single cover receivers and dedicate a lot of bodies, a lot of energy up front, whether that's run blitzing, devoting more people in the box. Automatically there, you're going to be at a disadvantage sometimes because then you're able to send more guys than the O-line can block. You can't ask your guard to block 2 guys at once. It just doesn't work. Simple math. So when you can overload that much, that hurts you. And part of that goes back to the passing attack. But I would say, to your question about tweaks, diversification, I think so. I think we've seen South Carolina probably needs to try some different things schematically in the run to free it up. Now, it's not going to only be that. They are going to have to get some semblance of a more consistent passing attack going. I think Luke Doty's return could help because he's going to be able to get involved in the running game, get involved in the passing game with being able to scramble around by some time. We can't discount that at all. But it is something you have to take a hard look at because if you struggle with it against EIU and ECU, you can't then reasonably say, I think Georgia's a good week to fix it. It's just not how it goes.
All right, Preston, you want to say what's up to everybody, or you got to go? You want to sit for a second, or you got to go? Everybody, what's up? Preston Thorne here, former Gamecock. We had to steal him for 1 second. Preston, give me your quick thoughts. I need they can hear your thoughts every day. 107.5, noon to 1, right?
For sure.
Pearson.
For sure.
Thoughts on the game and direct them to come hear some more tomorrow.
Man, big win, huge win. I said it. I don't think we can overstate how big that win was for the program. We had to get that done. And I said earlier on the radio today, I think that was the fashion in which we won really might pay benefits off as the season goes along because we haven't seen a team pull out a kind of a gutsy type of win like that in a while. We haven't seen it. And I thought that was really, really impressive to see and gave me something to look forward to in the future for sure.
If you're in that locker room after just sort of an ugly, one of those days where you feel like, man, nothing is going right, but you still find a way. What is it? What do you think it was like in that locker room after the game from your experience as playing? I
think it's that game where you start believing what the coaches are saying is true. Because coaches preach stuff all the time and they tell you things and maybe you believe it or not, but when it actually works, and now you're like, oh, okay, this is what they're talking about. So now next week, when the coaches are probably going to get on them, there's a lot of stuff that they need to correct. You take those corrections a little bit more to heart because you see evidence that it worked.
Tough matchup this week.
To say the least.
Any initial thoughts?
They're very good. I watched the Clemson game. They have a very strong front four. However, I do think that's the strength of our team also. Yeah. And not to say they struggled running the ball a little bit against UAB, but they didn't move the way I thought they would. So if there's a slight advantage that we might have, I might be our front four against that offensive line. So we'll see how it goes. 107.5 every day. Yes, sir. Noon to 1. Yes, sir. With Pearson. That's Preston Thorne. Appreciate you, man.
Always this was not planned. You come here.
Man, I'm here every Monday. We get the milk. We get the pasteurized eggs. It's great food here. I come here every week.
There it is, Preston Thorne. Appreciate you, man.
For sure, man.
Thanks, Preston.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Yeah, have a good one, dude. Yeah,
man, hit me up, man.
Yeah, I will, man. Definitely. You too, dude. That was not planned at all, but perfect timing from Preston and good stuff from him, man. I've seen that take from a couple people that, and I did not watch Georgia UAB game yet. I always try to go watch the next opponent at some point Tuesday, Wednesday, heading into the game. So I will watch that game. I've seen that take from a couple people online that Georgia's running game didn't just overwhelm UAB the way you may expect. So did you watch that game yet?
Didn't get to, I watched a little bit of it. Did not get to watch a lot.
That may be some. We're not going to dive into that right now because we got 4 days to get into the Georgia game.
Right.
But maybe something to keep an eye on, and what will be the biggest test for South Carolina's front so far this year by a lot. So we'll see. But let's go back to Carolina's offensive line. I look at last year, and I know last year is like it's a sore spot with a lot of people for a lot of reasons, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But the running game was able to find success, and I will say this, man, there it was kind of a hit or miss running game, in my opinion. It wasn't a running game that always just grinded out 4 yards here, 5 yards here, 5 yards. It was at times no gain, 60-yard gain, Kevin Harris,
Right.
2 yard gain, 2 yard gain, 25-yard gain. And to an extent, maybe that's true for a lot of running games, but I feel like there was like I remember the SEC StatCat stuff showed South Carolina had like as many or more explosive plays than anybody in the league, but also they had as many like non-successful running plays as anybody in the league. So it was very hit or miss. This year, through 2 games, there haven't been, you had the 63-yarders, Quandre White, week 1. There's a couple little gash plays in that game as well for first downs, but there weren't the big explosive run plays really on this past Saturday, and not at the extent we saw last year. Last year, man, I feel like we saw a lot of gap schemes where you're pulling guys, buck sweep to the outside or pin and pull, whatever you want to call it. A lot of that stuff is related. The point being where you're pulling offensive linemen in order to try to create movement. And we talked a ton last year about the pros and cons of doing that, in that you do create some openings for teams to knife into the backfield and create some negative plays. But also, if you can seal off a spot and pull that lineman through and actually time it out right, you create a chance for some big plays as well. Do we maybe see South Carolina try to implement some more of that? Is that an option? I think that's something to keep an eye on, man, because to me they're going to have to just try some different things in the running game to see if they can't get. You got too much talent in the backfield, and not try to do some different things to get them going.
Yeah, true. And again, I think the first sign when we look back at it, the question coming out of the opener was it kind of an aberration that South Carolina didn't have more explosive runs? I remember saying at the time that was the biggest surprise of that game to me, was that Zaquandre White's long touchdown run. That was really the only big, long, explosive run. I would have thought there had been more, particularly given the personnel, right? The offensive line that returned. We didn't see it. So then it was, well, did that just kind of happen? It's kind of an aberration. Saw it again against the ECU. Well, we knew that'd be a challenge in some ways, and that they would do a lot of movement. They would devote a lot of people up front. But we saw it again. We saw some first down runs, but we didn't see any long explosive runs. Again, it's hard to say, okay, they'll just block it up and scheme it up better against Georgia, the same stuff, and it's going to all of a sudden start hitting. Not without a better passing attack, and again, that's not going to happen in 1 week either. Not without making some tweaks. So what will it be? It probably needs to be something, and that remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that point, man. The running game or the O-line issues, whatever they may be, and it's always like this combination of things. I did think the tight ends and like the edge guys blocked very well down the stretch of the game Saturday, I thought. But it could be better this week, and we might not even know, because Georgia's front just overwhelms a lot of people. And that's sure. So I heard on the radio, and I imagine this is using a certain other rating system, but Georgia has like 15 5-stars on their roster. Like that is insane. So this is a Georgia team that's going to be loaded. If South Carolina doesn't run the football against them,
success this season because, look, they're not going to be able, again, overnight or from last season to this season, all of a sudden develop a super explosive passing game. What they need to be able to do in the passing game is to be, this is going to sound like a negative word, it's not serviceable. I mean, that's what they need to be. They need to feel like when you get in 3rd and 6 that they're going to have a good chance against quality competition to go out there and complete a pass. Now, maybe over time that does develop for whatever reason, for a variety of reasons. So far, it's not something you can count on, but we knew that the strength of this team coming in was going to be in 2 areas on offense specifically, or really 3: tight ends, running backs, offensive line. All those obviously very, very involved in the running game, but that's been not nearly as explosive as we thought it would be. So that's the key to unlocking this offense, the offense's potential, which is not to be a top 5 offense in the SEC, but it is to be good enough to where South Carolina can score enough to be able to win some games that they're going to have a chance of winning this year.
And the other side, if you're a Carolina fan, hoping that defense can continue to keep you in games and give the offense enough chances to go win a game like they did late on Saturday. It'll be interesting, man. There's a lot of different things to work through here. And along those same lines, man, I wonder moving forward, getting a guy like Jaheim Bell more involved. I see a lot of comments in the chat when we came on board, and they said, the lack of involvement for the tight ends on this past Saturday, the lack of letting Dakereon Joyner throw the football. And I agree with those notions. I also think when you're in a game and you're just going like 3 and out or 4 and out, 5, if you're not able to get into a rhythm, it's hard to get the different guys the football that you want. It's hard to even get to all the plays you want. Like, you have to kind of be able to stay on the field in order to get to the various things that you've planned all week to do, Right. So right now, I don't think there's a sense for exactly how to get these running backs in a rhythm because you're trying to give them all touches, which is admirable, but how many guys can actually how many guys can you actually get into the mix at running back and get into a rhythm in one game? And and then it's kind of like, yes, I think Jaheim Bell is a guy. If you just said, look, we're throwing the ball to 0 today, Jaheim Bell could catch 10 passes in a game, man. Like, it's like when the ball has been near him, that dude has gone and he even takes it from his teammates sometimes too. Which I don't know what happened on that deep ball where Jaheim and Josh were both going for it, and you never want guys that close together downfield. But Jaheim will go get the football. So I agree. Dakereon needs to throw when they're in the Wildcat at times. You need to put that in. I'm sure that's in the playbook. The thing is, you got to look at sort of the micro and the macro. The micro was on the very first Wildcat play, Dakereon found some room, got forward. I think it was 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5. So then you say, trying to establish the run. You call it again, and he gets hit in the backfield, loss of 4. Now you're in like 3rd or 8 and 9. Mm-hmm. And now you have to bring on Zeb. Anytime, I don't know if I rarely feel like you see a quarterback come in for 3rd down and it like work.
Come off the bench.
Yeah, come off. Yeah, it's like for 3rd and long. Yeah. That doesn't happen very often. So, point being, in the macro, you would say they've got to throw with Joyner at something to loosen up the Wildcat, and you'd be 100% right. The micro of that situation was the first down run worked, and I think they were trying to get the running game into a rhythm.
Yep.
So, big picture, I didn't like the thought process before the field goal to tie of running on 3rd down on that play. But in that specific situation, I think South Carolina, with everything that had gone wrong to this point,
right,
didn't want to look back and say, well, we're going to be aggressive. throw the football there, ball gets tipped, picked off, and look back and say, my gut was I should just be conservative and try to get this game tied after everything that's happened.
Yeah.
So I did kind of, as much as in general, I like aggressive thought processes. I thought Beamer, for a first-year head coach in Game 2, knowing how things were playing out, actually managed this game pretty daggum well.
Yeah, and I think the best example of that, now the players had to go actually execute this, right? But the staff and the players, they share in that responsibility and in the praise if it works out. That 4-minute offense to end the game. They go down, they put together a drive, 3 seconds left on the clock. Parker White kicks a field goal. ECU doesn't get the ball from 4 minutes on to end the game, and you go out, you have the game tied, you go out, you win it, there's no time left. So that's about as good as you can do it. But yeah, look, I think there were a lot of negatives offensively in this game, there's no doubt. I do think one positive, Wes, is, especially given how things went, did the running game work very well? Not really, but they did stick with it. That has to be said. It's always a talking point. Every year something happens. They abandon the run too early, right? And then you start trying to pass the ball. It doesn't work, and you don't move the ball whatsoever. You put your defense in bad places.
I'm having like Spurrier era flashbacks. As fun as it was having Spurrier here, how many times did South Carolina get down in the game? And that was like the storyline after. Abandon the run.
Abandon the run.
He would get so frustrated.
Yeah.
He'd be like, no, we're throwing the ball.
Just throw it. Yeah. I mean, it just so they did stick with it, and at the end of the game, it did pay off. Now, we might have been sitting here and it didn't work. Why didn't they start passing the ball? Why aren't they good passing the ball? But I do think they deserve some credit for sticking with it. And look, Wes, if we're being honest, they're going to have to stick with the run the whole rest of the season. They are going to have to force feed, establish the run, because if they don't, this offense doesn't have a great chance of being successful.
Yeah, and I think at some point you maybe have to start to look at whittling that rotation down at running back a little, which is tough to say because who's it going to be? You know? But I think Kevin Harris and Kevin Harris, the worst, one of the worst tweets of the week was this guy talking about Kevin tweeted me, was like, Kevin Harris is going to transfer because Juju's getting the ball at the end. I'm like, dude, first of all, Kevin Harris is not as soft as you. Like, he's not going to be like, he's not going to leave because the rotation didn't go his way the very first game he was back from having back surgery.
Right.
But ultimately, is Kevin a guy that we've seen sort of just pounds away at teams and gets better and better as games go on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes.
I think once Kevin gets help, like he's healthy, don't get me wrong. Once he gets back into completely game shape, I think given a game where you just say, look, Kevin, we're giving you the ball 20 times and we're rotating somebody else in, that may be part of it. You know, like it may be that you find three backs, and I don't know what you do with the other one, but but there's got to be a rhythm to the offense. And I'm not even saying that's the answer, Chris. I'm more thinking out loud of what are some possible tweaks we could see moving forward that could maybe get this running game going. Because you're right, man. If the running game doesn't get going, there ain't going to be many dubs.
It's going to be tough to win. I mean, there are a couple that you can point to and say South Carolina could have an ECU-esque performance and go win a couple games, but beyond a couple, not really. You know, so they got to get it on track. I don't know the answer. I can see your point about whittling the running back rotation. Part of me thinks, can they sustain playing each guy? What has it been? 12 to 20 snaps each, depending on the first two games. If they can, get some more explosive runs going. I mean, maybe. I don't know. What I do know is passing game has to open up a little bit. And then schematically in the run game, I think they've got to find a way to do some things to throw some defenses more off balance. Give these guys some open space, because each one of the running backs, each of the four, I think not even just in theory, but they've shown either in whole, Kevin Harris, or in part with White, McDowell, and Lloyd have even smaller sample sizes, that they can make some things happen, but they do need at least a sliver of space in order to do that.
No doubt. By the way, very, very, very small sample size, but I saw some bursts from Amarian Brown in his limited opportunities. He made a bad cut on one of those. They've made a little bit of an effort this week, it seemed like, to get him the ball in space. And there was a block that was missed. You remember the one where they motioned him all the way out and just swung the ball out to him? If that one block gets made or he cuts a different way, there's a lot of room on that one. And they actually got him the ball on a little quick hitter on the outside as well, where he got forward for some decent yardage. I got a feeling we maybe see him be a bigger part of the offense as this season goes on. It's going to do it for today, I think. We've got, obviously, show every day this week. We'll have, hopefully, our friends at UGA Sports will be on.
We'll for that.
Get Roddy or one of those guys to come on. They'll be great. They always come on and help us out, I think.
Kirby on
Wednesday.
We do when and who is sending the obligatory requests so that it can be denied. Am I going to fall on the sword for that?
That's you.
Okay. I'll do it. We'll get that in. We'll let you know when it's denied, time of death.
Yes. Kirby is going to say no, but all you can do is ask.
All you can do is ask. We had a good streak for a week.
Come check out Primal Gourmet, by the way.
I just got handed something by Valerie here from Primal Gourmet. This is a stack, and I suppose that I'm just going to start handing these out to people, Wes, to let them know about Primal. These are also, among other things that you can get at Primal, this is a punch card where when you come in, you can buy a plate or bowl. You buy 9, you get 1 free. But, dude, Preston Thorne, he's in here so regularly that Greg was just saying, yeah, Preston's in here all the time, and then he walks in. So
it's like he heard his name.
They have a lot of regulars here. If you come here, I think you'll be a regular. But the cool thing is, Gamecock Central's promo code, primalgourmetsc.com. You can go there, GCOCK20, get 20% off your first order of Primal, so you can check out their full menu, get your meal plan, healthy, delicious food. It's been fun out here today.
Yep, and they're at 725 Meeting Street, West Columbia, South Carolina. If you want to eat here, that is an option for you. Just come in and get lunch. But a huge part of their business is the meal prep part, which I frankly need to take advantage of.
Yes.
Based on what I've been eating lately.
Yes, I agree.
I need to take massive advantage of that. So, all right. Appreciate it, y'all. He's Chris. I'm Wes. We'll be back tomorrow. Again, Tuesday shows are usually about 2:30. We'll have comments. We'll be talking about Beamer's comments in his press conference, player comments as well. Appreciate the support as always. Appreciate Primal Gourmet. Appreciate Clint Hammond. Appreciate Dead Soxy. We appreciate you. Y'all have a good one.